East and west on fields forgotten, bleach the bones of comrades slain, lovely lads and dead and rotten, none that go return again. Far the calling bugles hollow, high the screaming fife replies, gay the files of scarlet follow. Woman bore me, I will rise.
Have you heard about the great big man who lives in a caravan? Have you heard about the Dempsey Johnson fight, when the big buck nigger fought the white? You can bring all the Hammersmiths you got, and you fight the old damn lot. He jumped on the bell in the belfry, and he wants to fight Jack Dempsey.
Well, you won the Best Recruit Award. Well done indeed. Where do you come from?
That's my brother, Sylvester. What's he got? He's got the row of 40 medals on his chest. Big chest. He killed 40 niggers in the West. He takes no rest.
Big as a man.
Hellfire.
Son of a gun.
Don't push.
Just shove.
Plenty of room for you and me. He's got an arm like a leg.
A lady's leg.
And a punch that'll sink a battleship. Big ship. It needs all the army and the navy to put the wind up. Who? Sylvester.
The dead, Turks and Australians, are lying buried and half buried in the trench bottom, in the sides of the trench and built into the parapet. They've made the sandbags all greasy. The flies hum in a bee-like cloud. Of all the bastards of places, this is the greatest bastard in the world. A dead man's boots have been dripping grease on my overcoat, and the coat will stink forever.
Here I sit on yonder hill. Who can play with me, cry my fill? My tears would turn a watermill. My Johnny is gone for a soldier. Shul, 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 gra. His pick and shovels laid awa. My Johnny's gone to fight the war. My Johnny is gone for a soldier.
You are Wayne Lyons, born the 19th of December 1959, and you've come from Merthyr Tydford.
Yes, right.
Good. Now, you live at home with both your parents?
Yes.
What do they feel about you wanting to join the army?
Well, as you said, it's a good life, if you can take it.
Come and be a soldier, lads, come. Hark, don't you hear the pipe and the drum? Come to the battlefield, march away. Come and lose your eyes and limbs for 13 pence a day.
I was now a lad at 20 and thoroughly tired of the drudgery of a poolman's life. I quitted it in the search of more adventurous life. On the 14th of March, 1834, I was declared to be duly and legally enlisted and forthwith enrolled as a private in His Majesty's Nottinghamshire Regiment.
Come and take the shilling, lads, come, lads, drink. Come and drive Dalfair away, but never dare to think.
Tell me, why do you want to join the army?
I want to make and try to create myself if I can. Outdoor life, activity and travel.
You've got an outdoor life in what you've got now.
Yes, well, you see more places in the army, you know what I mean?
With the travel. Yes, this is true to an extent. You will get opportunities to travel about. Any other thing that appeals to you?
Obviously, secure in there now. Security, secure. Pigs, all right.
I enlisted in the Royal East Kent Regiment during the early part of the year 1891. The reasons that led me to take this step were briefly inability to obtain employment. At an early age, I found myself face to face with life and in no way ready to grapple with its problems, being very young and with little capability for judgment or discrimination. I chose a soldier's life because it seemed to be the only one open to me.
Break your mama's hearts, lads, bid goodbye to daddy. You shall be a general if you'll only be a swaddy.
Now, you can ask for anything you like. You can ask for a brain surgeon in the medical corps if you want to. The important thing about the choice is that you want to be certain you pick something which you will enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing it for the next 3, 6, or 9 years, whatever you're taking on for.
It was not the temptation of the large bounty that made me enlist, but the prospect of being a fifer in the army, where I could get proper instruction in my favourite music.
Now, you're unlikely to get most of the trades in the engineering line, vehicle mechanics, and that type. But you should get a grading which will leave you open to all the combat arms being the infantry, the Royal Artillery, and the Royal Armoured Corps. You can also go to the Pioneer Corps, and some of the other corps in the lower grading type trades.
I joined the forces to be a chef, not a tank driver. I want a career and experience in catering, not driving a 56-ton tank with nothing to show for it after 6 years' service. If I'd known I was to drive tanks, I wouldn't have signed up for 6 days, let alone 6 years.
At this stage now, I am prepared to accept you for enlistment into the regular army as an adult. That means to say that I am prepared for you to come in here and take an oath of allegiance to the Queen and the services, and by so doing to become a soldier and be subject to military law and military discipline. Now, if you agree to that, there is an element of risk in doing it. And I'll tell you exactly what happens to you, and you'll see what that risk is.
Have honour to report that French revolutionary forces defeated today at Waterloo village by British, Dutch, German soldiers under Lord Wellington.
Stand firm!
Bonus Imperial Guard made a charge at us. We saw 'em coming, and we all closed in and formed a square, just as they came within a few yards of us. And they fired at us, and at that moment the man on my right was shot through the body, and the blood ran out of his belly and back like a pig stuck in the throat. He dropped on his side, and I spoke to him, and he just said, "Lewis, I'm done."
Presently a man rode by and stabbed me with a lance. I turned round and was then stabbed with a sword. Very soon another man came up and thrust his bayonet, as he thought, into my side, near me heart. One of my fingers was cut off before I fell, and as I lay, bleeding from at least a dozen wounds, I was plundered by the soldiers of my watch, money, canteen, haversack and trousers, even though the shot was dropping on all sides as I lay there. But what weighed upon my spirits was the time I had lost, and now to be discharged with hardly as much money as would carry me home. And oh, how bitter I felt to think of the good service I performed day and night, at home and abroad, in garrison and in camp and in battle for 11 long years, and receive no benefit for it at all.
With Wellington we'll go, with Wellington we'll go. For Wellington commanded on the plains of Waterloo.
British soldiers are taken entirely from the lowest orders of society. They are the very worst members of society, the scum of the earth. The scum of the earth, enlisted for drink. They are all enlisted for drink.
On the 18th day of June, 1815, both horse and foot they did advance, most glorious to be seen. Both horse and foot they did advance, and the bugle horns did blow. The sons of France were made to dance on the plains of Waterloo. With Wellington we'll go, with Wellington we'll go. For Wellington commanded on the plains of Waterloo.
Of all the services which a soldier is called upon to perform, there is none so unpalatable to him as that of waging war against a domestic enemy. In putting down a mob, Stern necessity and a strict sense of duty may force the soldier to tinge his sword with the blood of his countrymen. Any who imagine he takes pleasure in such feats do him gross injustice. What lamentations were sung upon the upsetting of the rioters at the celebrated Peterloo affair, when the probability was that these very beings would gladly have lent a hand to the sacking and burning of the town. They hated us as they hated the devil.
On the 16th day of August 1819, a meeting held in Peter Street was glorious to be seen. Joe Nadin and his big bulldogs, which you might plainly see, and on the other side stood the bloody cavalry. With Henry Hunt we'll go, me boys, with Henry Hunt we'll go. We'll mount the cap of liberty in spite of Nadin Joe.
Okay, now you're almost a soldier. Now I'm going to give you part of a day's pay now, Wayne. In the old days they would have given you a queen shilling, but what with inflation and what have you, it's now £3.50.
Myself, I know, and all these people here, our friends and family, wish you all the luck in the world when you eventually go tomorrow, when you join the army. Cheers, all the best.
Wait. Ready? Well, did you ever hear the big strong man who lived in the caravan? Did you ever hear the Jeffrey Jackson fight when the big black nigger fought the white? You can fetch all the boys you got. I got the little tough to beat the bloody lot. Tonight he fights at the Belfry. Tonight he fights Jack Dempsey. That's my brother Sylvester. What have he got? He got the row of 40 medals on his chest. Big chest.
A wounded soldier whom I tended at Scutari said one reason he enlisted was that being apprenticed in London, he was so unhappy and so missed his granny and his home that he could not bear it. So he enlisted and found, poor boy, a rough grandmother in the service and in the battlefield.
The regiment is mother, sister, and mistress. It is a high and admirable phase of patriotism, for to the soldier his regiment is his family.
I'll dye my petticoats, dye them red, and through the world I'll beg my bread.
She died at Tallyclyn at the age of 95. She was with her husband of the 23rd Royal Welsh Fusiliers at the Battle of Waterloo and was on the field 3 days.
I'll follow my Johnny, alive or dead. I will follow my Johnny as a soldier.
Are you all quite sure you're doing the right thing and you wish to take the oath of allegiance to Her Majesty and thereby becoming lit? Now, I will say I, you repeat I, and then individually your full Christian and surname. I, Paul Walsh, Carl swear by Almighty God swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, and that I will, as in duty bound, honestly and faithfully, defend Her Majesty, her heirs and successors, in person, crown, and dignity, against all enemies.
The night my Willie listed, how merry he did seem, to think he had the honour to serve our British Queen, never thinking of the lash that was lying in his way, to torture him so cruel if he went astray. from our land. He shall ne'er remain a soldier to guard our native land.
The first time I saw a man punished, my heart was like to burst. It was with difficulty that I restrained my tears as the thought broke upon me of what I had brought myself to. I had hitherto seen only the pomp of war. Now I felt how much I had been deceived.
Sergeant Major, do your duty.
The deserter being stripped to the waist, the Sergeant Major dips a camel hair brush into a small bottle which contains a thick black liquid. He then traces with this brush the letter D on the soldier's left side, 2 inches below the armpit. The spring instrument is placed over the D, and the points released by firm pressure upon the firing catch. When the puncturing process is over, the Sergeant Major takes some gunpowder between his finger and thumb and rubs it upon the wound for the purpose of rendering the mark indelible.
The regimental sergeant major, who stood behind with a book and pencil to count each lash and write its number, gave the command, "Farrier Simpson, you will do your duty." Simpson took the cat as ordered. I felt an astounding sensation between the shoulders, under my neck, which went to my toenails in one direction, my fingernails in another, and stung me to the heart as if a knife had gone through my body. The Sergeant Major called in a loud voice, "One!" I felt as if it would be kind of Simpson not to strike me in the same place again. The Sergeant Major counted, "Two!" The cat was swung twice round the farrier's head again, and he came on somewhere about the shoulder blade, and the loud voice of the reckoner said, "Three!" The shoulder blade was as sensitive as any other part of the body. When he came again in the left shoulder, and the voice cried, "Four!" I felt my flesh quiver in every nerve from the scalp of my head to my toenails. The time between each stroke seemed so long as to be agonizing, and yet the next came too soon. The word "five" made me betake myself to mental arithmetic. This, thought I, is only the 40th part of what I am to get.
6
followed, and so on, up to
25.
Now, if a costermonger were to take his donkey, tie it to a ladder nailed to a wall, and deliberately whip the skin off the creature's back, the miscreant would be fined or sent to the treadmill. But such a man is a costermonger and a blackguard, and these are officers and gentlemen.
Portrait of a favourite cat in the possession of the Duke of Wellington.
You cannot bring soldiers up to be officers. It will not answer. They cannot live in the society of gentlemen.
The night my Willie listed, we both were torn apart. I thought I'd never see him, and that would break my heart. My sorrow then began, and I was left alone. The tortures of the army by him could not be borne. I've heard my Willie say the sight he could not stand. Oh, never thought.
Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, let's be having you. Come on, up you get. Come on, feet on the ground, let's go. Come on, I'll be back in a minute, but we'll all be up. Come on then, wakey, wakey, let's go. Come on.
Raise and lower. Raise and lower.
Either right! Take! Arch! Left! Right! Left! Right! Left! Right! Left!
Now, the objective of your training is to transform you from the soft life of a civilian into a robust fighting man. We're not going to turn you into a violent robot, but more a professional, self-disciplined soldier who has the confidence to make decisions for yourself and to have the discipline to accept orders. In 7 months' time, I can guarantee that most of you sitting in this room will be walking the streets of Northern Ireland. And in Northern Ireland, as no doubt you've seen in the newspapers, there are terrorists whose main preoccupation is trying to kill you. Now, if that isn't a good incentive for learning your job thoroughly over the next 18 weeks, I don't know what is.
In 1854, the militia was called up for garrison duty. I was sent with the Northamptonshire Regiment to Dublin. I'd wondered many times why we took our rifle and 20 rounds of ball cartridges even to church. I don't wonder now. We couldn't trust the people. There's something rotten in the state when you can't do that. A kind-hearted race of people never lived. I mounted guard several times at the Dublin prison called Mount Joy. It should have been called Misery. It was full of political prisoners. Don't forget these poor creatures. This was during the Crimean War.
I left England with my husband, Private Kerwin, in the 19th Regiment. We landed at Scutari and we marched on foot up to Devner. There I bought a little washing tub and carried the all of my cooking things in it. This was the all of my baggage and I carried it on my head during the march. When my husband left me on going to the battle at Alma, what must have been my feelings to see him going away from me and thinking that I never would see him again. It was a hard-feeling thing. The day my husband went away from me, I was left on the beach of Turkeyland, friendless.
It grieves me heart to see you sail, hurroo, hurroo. It grieves me heart to see you sail, hurroo, hurroo. It grieves me heart to see you sail, though from me heart you took like bail, like a cod you doubled up head and tail.
Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo, hurroo. With drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo, hurroo. With drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Me darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya.
The day I went up to the front, there was heavy battle fought. The battle commenced at 3 o'clock. I went up the hill to look at it, and I saw a gentleman there, the name of Mr. Russell, who asked me would I like to see the battle, or would I be frightened. I said I would like to see it, and he gave me his telescope to look through, which brought battle under my eyes, men bayoneting one another and drawing back and meeting one another again. When I saw this, I could stand it no longer, and I gave the gentleman his telescope back again. He told me that I had seen something that very few women in England had seen, and that was a heavy battle fought.
With drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo, hurroo. With drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo.
Well, Jack, here's good news from home. We're to have a medal.
That's very kind of him. Maybe one of these days we'll have a coat to stick it on.
Drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo, hurroo.
The young wounded man who died was George Nichol of the Grenadier Guards. We buried him yesterday with the others. He was of a very large frame, yet had a delicately fair complexion. His wound did not seem severe, but about a fortnight before his death, when apparently doing well, he told me he was dying, and begged me to take charge of his watch and money to send home to his little brother, Benjamin. I told him I thought he would recover, but on his earnest entreaties I took the watch, which was a Russian one, and gave it to Miss Nightingale's care. A day before his death, I saw him put the money in a little bag and fasten it round his neck.
With drums and guns and guns and drums, hurroo, hurroo.
Sam Gregg, an English soldier, was never downhearted. His companions in the hospital were very kind to him and waited on him and fed him, as he had lost both his hands.
With drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew you.
It was very touching to see the maimed waiting on and helping each other.
Me darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew you.
Another lad asked me to kiss him before he died, and I'm sorry I did not. He said one morning, "It has pleased the Lord to take my comrade in the night, but I'm spared a little longer." But in passing in the evening I spoke to him, and getting no answer, I found he was gone. The barrack hospital seemed to become gradually more crowded and the air more tainted. The wounded lay close to each other on each side of the corridors, leaving merely room to pass between. I do not know how many this vast building contained. One might walk almost miles along sick and dying men. The whole army seemed becoming victims to the war, or rather to the want of foresight and arrangements for their support and comfort, to fatigue, cold, damp, and hunger. The pride of England is laid low. She has sent forth the flower of her children, the young, the brave, the beautiful, and she will never see them more. Looking up at that vast prison-like building, we thought, within these gloomy walls lie the wreck of one of the noblest armies Britain ever sent forth.
With drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Me darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya.
Where are the legs with which you run? Hurroo, hurroo. Where are the legs with which you run? Hurroo, hurroo. Where are the legs with which you run when first you went to carry a gun? Indeed, your dancing days are done,
Johnny, I hardly knew ya. London! 8!
Not bad, quite.
Next three!
They remember your heights.
Evans, Richmond.
5'6.5".
35.
Right. Your trousers on.
I am the Regimental Sergeant Major of the depot. My name is Williams, and I'm in the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. My rank is Warrant Officer Class 1.
What?
As a half-breed Welshman, I must hate the English, as the Irish hate them. And I have long time wished that something would turn up with England and America, so that England might get a sound beating by them. The Irish would then be able to get their own country back again.
John Pearman, 3rd King's Own Light Dragoons, born Kingston-on-Thames, 1819, enlisted 1843, died 1908. Wrote a journal based on letters home during the Sikh Wars, 1846 to 49.
I can never forget this charge. Such a mass to get through. I had a bayonet wound in the right arm as we cut our way back to the regiment, a slight flesh wound near the elbow. I've no other belief but the fellow would have shot me as my horse was plunging and my sword was in the fellow's shoulder, but Sergeant Wilde coming up cut off the back of his head and down he went. Wilde said, "Come on, Jack," and away we went, about 7 of us, and got safe to the regiment, where I got a bandage put round my arm. Night closed the sad sight, and the rain came down as if to cleanse us from our past sin. For I verily believe the man was not made by God to kill his fellow man. It has become the order of man since, by our artificial life, and to keep the rank of nations.
Her Majesty the Queen is graciously pleased to accept from her gallant soldiers the cannon taken in the late battle in the Punjab.
The enemy's guns were behind the hedge, and it was very thick, but at it we went, and through it, the prick sticking into man and horse. My horse's forelegs went into a hole and he turned completely over with me. I lay with my right leg on my carbine, and my horse lay on my right leg. I seized my pistol, for the enemy's foot were all over the place. I heard Tom Taylor say, "Pearman shot," but I knew better. My comrade, William Makepeace, came back to me as the regiment halted about 200 yards off. He said, "Shake the damn reins and make him get up, Jack." He kept cantering round me with his sword and kept off the straggling foot of the enemy. At last my horse got up and let me leg loose. I found I wasn't hurt much.
1854, John Pearman returned to England as sergeant. Promise of a staff appointment did not materialise.
I made up my mind to leave if they would let me, which they did, after a great deal of trouble, by my paying to them £5, after all my hard service. But I left the regiment in disgust in February 1857, and on the 16th of March 1857, I joined the Buckinghamshire Police at Aylesbury. What is a soldier? A man forced down under the brutalising machine of military life, which presses out nature from the very veins and bones of its victims, and shapes from the warm, living flesh a puppet, a tool, a thing, a creature without eyes or ears or sense or will of its own, a plaything for death, a missile in the merciless hand of the state for pomp and vain glory. I have the sincere impression that man was not made to slaughter his fellow man, for any other man or the state, although he may have engaged himself as a hired assassin.
Reckon you could keep your head in a crisis? Reckon you got the strength to handle the aggro? Reckon you could keep going when you're just fit to drop? Reckon you could do all this and more? We'd like to meet you.
Sir Henry Harding, come to stand unto his men did say, come on, me lads, to action and show them British play. With fire and smoke this day we'll make the thundering cannons roar. Stand to your guns, me British boys, in this great India war.
When we find a part of the world that would be of use and profit to us, we at once covet the same. We wish to make Christians. Our first step, send out 6 or 8 missionaries, men with many faces but one head. Our next step is to send a few soldiers. They'll soon show the way to become Christians. Now comes the grand step, annexation of their country, and in a short time we send them a bishop and all his host, and they must pay for that likewise. Oh, John Bull, you're a great rogue.
9,300 brave Englishmen were lost. 230,000 of the Sikhs, we hear their lives it cost. And dearly they will have to pay, which grieveth them full sore, unto our English government for the late India war.
I heard a sharpshooter complimented by his captain. Well done, my lad. You shall have something for this. But tell me, where did you learn to shoot so straight? The private said, well, sir, to tell you the truth, it was at Ayres on your estate.
Now Rangoon we have taken, let us drink unto our king. May all his loyal subjects fresh laurels to him bring. Likewise to General Campbell, who commanded on that day, and pulled their lofty peacock down on the 11th day of May.
What's the kit with this here show, matey?
A coffin, friend. A coffin is all you'll want.
Regiment will advance in quarter distance, column!
These are just Foreign Office wars. Really just nigger smashing.
Division will deploy right and left from the front company of the 19th!
Regiment in inverted order, left wheel into line!
The brigade will take ground to the left!
The
In the streets of a town, soldiers should keep if possible on one side, close to the houses, observing those on the opposite side. To gain ground, they should take every opportunity of cover, in doorways, corners, behind carriages, etc.
Hurrah for the scarlet and the blue, and the helmets are glittering in the sun, and the bayonets flash like lightning to the beating of the old bass drum. Hurrah for dear old England.
We all know and deplore that at the present moment a larger number of the grown men of Europe are employed and a larger proportion of the industry of Europe is absorbed to provide for and maintain the enormous armaments which are now on foot in every considerable continental state. This foreign policy, this regard for the liberties of Europe, this care for the Protestant interests, I suppose that if any ingenious person were to prepare a large map of the world and were to mark upon it the spots where Englishmen have fought and English blood has been poured forth, the treasure of England squandered, scarcely a country, scarcely a province of the vast expanse of the habitable globe would thus be undistinguished.
All in? Right, now tell you a little bit about the museum. It's the Museum of the South Wales Borderers, or rather the South Wales Borderers Museum of the Royal Regiment of Wales. The regiment was first formed in 1689, and it was formed with a number of others really to quell the Irish. A lot of people might think that we didn't do a frightfully good job then. They're still at it. And since then, it's fought throughout the world, almost every country, and served in every country, and gained a very, very fine name for itself, including having 23 Victoria Crosses awarded to members of the regiment. 6 of them which were won at the Battle of Rorke's Drift. How many of you have seen the film Zulu?
I don't think we shall finish this war soon and easy, for they're a better lot of men, and more of them, and they've got rifles the same as we have. I'm very sorry to have to tell you that there'll be many a poor wife lose her husband, and many a father and mother lose their son.
The British forces marched into Zululand in 3 columns, and we were in the central column, and they crossed over into Zululand and camped by a mountain called Isandwana. While they were in camp, they were attacked in the morning of the 22nd of January by the Zulus, some 20,000 Zulus. They fought valiantly, but sadly the ammunition failed. The Zulus realized the fire was snapping off, and they attacked, and everybody in the regiment was killed. It was an absolute disaster, and everybody in England was flabbergasted by that this should happen to the British forces.
I wish I was back in England again, for I should never leave. It's sad times here, and we're on the watch every night, with our belts buckled on and our rifles by our sides. It's nothing but mountains here, all biscuits to eat. Dear father and sisters and brothers, goodbye. We may never meet again. I repent the day I took the shilling.
Anybody got any questions?
Why were they fighting the Zulus anyway?
Oh, why was fighting the Zulus? Well, because Chief Ketchewell, who was the king of the Zulus, had been you're going into history now. Was really being difficult.
The aggressive bearing of the Zulus and the known power of their army had produced a condition of affairs which their European neighbours found to be intolerable, and it was finally decided that certain demands should be made of Ketchewell. These demands were embodied in an ultimatum.
For the information of Ketchewell and all the Zulu people,
that I place the prosecution of this and all other demands for redress and reparation in the hands of His Excellency Lieutenant General Lord Chelmsford, commanding Her Majesty's forces.
No treaty obligation can be binding on such a perfidious race as the Zulus, ruled by a treacherous and bloodthirsty sovereign like
compel the Zulu king to comply with all the demands made on him, whether for satisfaction due to the British government.
The time has arrived for decisive action. We will never again have so favourable an opportunity as the present. If it is lost, sooner or later we will be...
The Zulu deputies listened to this ultimatum with marked attention. They observed that they could not understand why the disbandment of the Zulu army was demanded, as they considered their nation had as much right to have an army as the English.
All this marching is very bad. I cannot tell you when the fighting is going to commence, but he has got till the 11th of January to consider if he will come to terms. And if not, then we shall begin to fight. It is not any use you asking me for money until this is over, for we cannot get anything at all.
Dear father and mother, I write these lines, hoping to find you well, as they leave me, your darling son, in a foreign land to dwell. And to my brother and sister dear, to them give my best love. If in this world we meet no more, I hope we shall above. Oh, my parents, these few lines are true. I hope I shall return again to live and die with you.
Dear Aunt, I wish I'd listened to your good advice and give up the drink, or I would not be where I am today. Now I must draw to a close, and please write to all my sisters and tell them I am quite well at present. And please God, I hope to see you all someday. It's now Sunday afternoon, just after dinner, and I am sitting on a small box to write to you these few lines, hoping very much that they will meet you healthy and hearty, as I am at present. And thanks be to the Almighty God for keeping us as we are. I send you this letter in order that you may understand that we are shifting from Rock's Drift at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, the 20th of January, for the Grand Kraals of King Ketchwayo, and perhaps it will take us a week or 9 days to reach that place.
Kwathi umcijo esajahana nezinkweli emagqumeni ngemva kwenyakatho. Sasiwakhokolozela ngemva kwesandlwane. Sasiqonde ukunqomana nengoba makhosi entanyeni. Sitheleke enkambeni bangasiboni. Sabona belungu bethi sa ngomgwaqo oqonde eshiyane. Abaningi babo sabasukela bafela khona lapho phansi emfudlaneni oshene enzansi emathafeni. Abanye batheleka emahashini, abanye bahamba ngezinyawo. Bathe uma bathi gaga babona ukuthi amathafa amnyama baqhela ngasezinyaweni basho bagwagwesa ngasemfuleni oshona emzinyathi. bathe-ke masekunjalo-ke babona ukuthi hayi cha unondwengu wajahana nezinye izinkweli ezafela khona lapho emeveni nasezindongeni. Iqembu lethu labuyela emva kule ndawo enkambini umhlaba uphakeme ugcwele amatshe nesindonga. Saze satheleka kuwo amasoja angasiboni, sahlabana ngempela, abanye badundubala emagqubeni. Kwabonakala ukuthi cha uZulu angeke sabathole. Wathi uyasondela uZulu saqhuba isibhamu singamniki ithuba. Ehla amasoja ahlaba umkhosi, angasadli inkobe zamuntu. Kwabonakala ukuthi cha into bangayenza. Ehla impela amasoja ayeholwa yinduna eyigadle ngocelembe ucobezela ngempela. Imani uqhomba ngapha nangapha songathi umlilo nje ucobolwayo. Bathi babheka amaZulu athi sa abakhokolozela laba nalabaya abangasentanyeni bathoba baphela khona lapho. Sase sibakhokolezela ngamacala onke, nabanye abakade basesitikidikini senkambi. Izibhamu zabo zazingasesho lutho, abanye kade bagohle amavolovole ebawakhipha kwaqhuma umsizi nezibhamu. Kwakungekho ndawo yokuthi singabenza ngaphandle ukuthi kuwe iningi labo. Kwase kundiza imikhonto emoyeni ngempela. Kwathola ukuthi hayi impela-ke bayahluleka manje. Lasa liphenduka ilanga kwaze kwaba mnyama enkundla. Kwajika manje impela kwabonakala kwalififi. Kwabonakala kwalififi ngempela. Wangafunga impela ukuthi sagwazana impela laze lashona ilanga. Saphendula futhi sayemva. Sayithela futhi enkambini. Lapho-ke impela-ke kwabonakala ukuthi impela-ke waqhuma umsizi nembayimbayi kuleyo ndawo. Wathola ukuthi hayi impela-ke sokukubi impela. Baphela abantu kwafa khona lapho impela. Kwajika impela kwathi hawu ilanga. Hawu impela kwasemini impela.
Oft times I have heard people say they're not afraid to die, but bring them to the battlefield, and that soon will them try.
We are properly defeated now. We lost 500 men from the 1st Battalion and 184 from the 2nd. The 2nd is the regiment that I'm in, so don't make a mistake. These are Pontypool boys that got killed in the battle. Alf Farr, Dick Treverton, and Charlie Long. I could describe the battlefield to you, but the sooner I get it off my mind, the better. It was a pity to see about 800 white men lying on the field, cut up to pieces and stripped naked. Even the little boys that we had in the band, they were hung up on hooks and opened like sheep. It was a pitiful sight. There'll be a row at home about this.
Oh, my parents, these few lines are true. I hope I shall return again to live and die with you.
Myself, Jack Price, and Harry Lewis are all right, but we thought it was all up. We are waiting now for 9,000 troops to come from England, and when they do arrive, we will soon make the Zulus pay dear for what they have done for us. They are a stronger and more powerful race of people than they thought, but England will be revenged for all the slaughter. We are now in camp, waiting for the remnant of the regiment to join us before proceeding to attack the palace of the king. Hefyd, Cofiwch and Edwin Llwyd
have honour to report final defeat Zulus with annexation Transvaal from Boers enables us to complete federation of Southern Africa.
To a larger extent every year, Great Britain is becoming a nation living upon tribute from abroad. And the classes who enjoy this tribute have an ever-increasing incentive to employ the public policy, the public purse, and the public force to extend the field of their private investments.
Okay, lads, back on the bus now. We're going to get up the four-tonner hat and round the outside.
Theirs to command, yours to obey. Whose is the enemy you might slay? Whose is the life you give for pay? Johnny, when you go for a soldier,